and welcome to my latest Periscope video. Here at Xerocon, I'm absolutely delighted to have Xero's UK MD and co-founder, need to be careful, Gary Turner with me today. Gary's been very busy. I'm absolutely delighted he's given me a few minutes of his time today. Gary.
Good to see you, Kevin. Huge event. It's quiet now because one of the briefings is on, but we have over 2,000 people in Excel today. And I was going to tell a really bad dad joke, and it's incredible that we're hosting such a large conference about the future of accounting in a building named after a spreadsheet.
Well, there you go. It never even entered my head. I had to travel in from Walthamstow, so I have to keep my journey route back. It's quite difficult, but anyway, that's another matter. One of the big pieces of news that's come out of Xero today is around the digital or die survey. One of the key results of that is that 78% of accountants are still using spreadsheets to effectively run their businesses. That sounds like a scary number. What does that actually mean? What are the implications of that?
Well, I think it says that accountants love spreadsheets. I don't think we're ever going to get rid of spreadsheets completely, but I think they're useful.
Folks, right, it's round 2 of my interview with Gary Turner, and hopefully we maintain a signal and it doesn't just cut off. That's the aim of this. So Gary, we were talking about advisors changing and what's driving that. You mentioned making tax digital. Is it worrying though that regulation is driving a change in the way in which the working practices of the accountants, rather than thinking about the future and what's best for their clients?
So I think it's both. I mean, clearly we're trying to build software and systems that accountants get benefit from, but which, if it also helps them from a compliance perspective, then that's great. But I don't think that's new. I mean, so online VAT was compulsory pretty much, well, not compulsory, but it effectively began to be compulsory 7 years ago. We had online filing of payroll 15, 16 years ago, drove changes in behavior. And so that whole thing is not new. I think what we've seen, though, is a rapid increase in the amount of regulation that's coming down. So you have, obviously you have making tax digital, which is going to happen on a longer timeline, but it's still only a couple of years away. We have GDPR, so data privacy laws that's going to impact every business, including accountants, and that's only, less than a year away now, May next year. They've got the new European Payment Services Directive, which is changing kind of anti-money laundering rules and payment services. And so we're in what we described at our conference today, this kind of perfect storm of regulatory burden, whether we like it or not, and then throw in a bit of Brexit uncertainty into that as well.
Alongside digital revolution.
And so we're right in the meat of a big change in terms of how everything is configured and done, and it's going to take a decade, 2 decades to flush through all of that. But I think it's the continuation of something that's been happening for about 20, 30 years. I don't think it's new, it's just a lot more of it.
Okay, so if we just step back from that, what new product? Lots of new products from Xero today. Would you like to run through a couple of those, the key ones, and what they're there to do?
Well, so this is our biggest ever Xerocon in London. So we have over 2,000 attendees, and it's also the biggest for new product launches as well. So we've had a lot of work in the background over the last few months. We've launched products for the end user businesses. So we've got a whole new Xero Expenses app and experience. Expenses in Xero has been in the app for quite a while, and it's probably getting a bit old and needed a bit of a refresh, and so we've completely built a brand new expenses app and capability in Xero. We've just launched projects, so for a lot of professional services businesses in managing projects and campaigns and initiatives for their clients, or anybody in professional services, not just accounting or even creative. CIS, we're previewing CIS. CIS is probably about a month away, maybe 8 weeks away from being available on general release to all of our customers. So CIS, big construction industry contingency in the UK economy, of course, and lots of accountants and bookkeepers really keen to see that. We've launched a thing called Xero Ask, which is a great way for accountants to get information from their clients in a structured way online, rather than kind of sending email attachments. It's in a much more structured way. They can query people and they can supply answers to the questions online. And then we've also added a whole new load of capability to Xero HQ, which we launched a year ago, which is our kind of dashboard for the practices to manage their kind of estate of cloud apps surrounding Xero. So lots and lots of product stuff.
So Gary, obviously, you know, the Xero makes a big play about the freedom around its interface to have this ecosystem of wonderful app providers that are all here today, you know, that supplement and build around the core product. Now, some of those new launches sound like they may tread on the toes of some of the app providers here. Is that the case? And if so, what does that mean for them?
That's not a new thing. I mean, we've been working and collaborating and building with this incredible ecosystem we're surrounded by since we began. And we've always had an API, and we've always had horizontal, vertical, diagonal app, whatever you call it, all shapes and sizes of app. And what it provides is choice. We will always build horizontal capabilities in our product. We have no intention of getting into verticals or real specialism. We'll always be building for that, what are the 80% of the customer base require, and there will always be a segment of our customer base that will want more than we offer in those areas, and so there'll always be people looking for better, bigger, more flexible reporting options. Large organizations may choose to use something like Expensify instead of Xero Expenses for their own expenses, and we're cool with that and always have been.
And what's the reaction of some of the developers out here?
It's fine, and we've had no pushback. In fact, we've launched on Xero HQ a whole load of new, what we call Xero HQ apps on our platform, and speak to them yourselves. I think we've managed to win the trust of 600 app providers over the last 10 years. Which in the old world of software you may have thought, wait a minute, you're competing, but that's not the way the world works anymore. Everything is becoming much more tightly integrated. People want the freedom to choose what the best solutions are, and us mandating that you must use everything, or we would try and argue that you should have everything on Xero, really belongs to the 1990s world of suite-based software. It's not like that anymore. Ask them for yourself, but there's loads of them here, and they just love the innovation that we're driving right across everything that we do for accountants and for the SMBs. And some of the stuff we announced in terms of what we're calling these new Xero HQ apps, just take that to the next level in terms of what the practices are using. We also announced today that we've just passed by 250,000 subscribers on the platform in the UK. So it's really humbling to be able to talk about our customer community in fractions of a million now in the UK. And that's a massive change from the way that the old world of software used to work. I don't think there's ever been 250,000 of anything in this accounting space. And we're really trying to think of different ways to build better products that we offer, but harness the advantages. We have 63 or 64 ecosystem providers at Xerocon, and they're at least a third of the value that people get coming to this conference. We love working with everybody here, and we've managed to make that work for the last 10 years, and we'll continue to do so.
Okay, last question, very quickly. What's the vibe like? What are the practitioners saying when they're here? You know, I've been to many conferences where you have the grumbles and moans. Haven't had a lot of that feeling here, I must say. Feels like a good energy, momentum. But what particular questions, what things are people trying to solve?
So I had a great conversation with a practitioner who has been using Xero pretty much since we got going, at least 7 or 8 years. And in fact, it's a lady by the name of Donna Scaife of WBS, who are up in the Northeast. And she told me that she'd come to Xerocon today because she's been around for a long time now in the Xero world, and she thinks she's kind of seen everything, and the cloud's not a new thing for her. She's completely adopted it and moved on to that way of working, and therefore maybe Xerocon's more for the new people that are coming in. But what I'm hearing from Donna and lots of other longer standing practitioners in the cloud is that the stuff that we've launched today, as well as some of the innovations that we have, some incredible new tools that didn't exist a year ago, and that's completely recaptured her imagination for the next phase. And so she's done like Cloud V1, And the kind of vibe I'm getting from people like that is that this feels like the next generation. We're now having consolidated that position and established and convinced people that cloud software is a great thing to be on. We're now like, how do you take it to the next level? So I think that's a part of the vibe. And the other huge thing you always get at Xerocon is just like a really strong sense of community, really strong sense of people learning and sharing their ideas and thinking. So that's loud and clear as well.
Well, I think things have moved very quickly for Xero in the last few years, particularly here in the UK, and obviously the world is also moving very quickly, and I think you guys are working very hard to try and keep up with that and maybe even get a little bit ahead.
We are.
Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.